in order to sell trafficking amounts of marijuana, cannabis. You know, that low-level, nonviolent drug everybody talks about? That's right. So for the next few days, they're selling trafficking amounts of marijuana. Then a horrible thing happens about 8:30 at night on April the 13th. There are people coming and going from this Airbnb and buying marijuana, and two suspects come into the Airbnb about 8:30 at night. 5 minutes later, they're leaving in a hurry. One of them's clearly carrying a gun, the other is carrying something else in his hands. We showed you a video of three people carrying what is our deceased victim out of the door. The deceased victim's parents gave us permission to release his name. It's Xavier Johnson. He's only 29 years of age. That's right. He was there, and part of the operation of selling marijuana, and he was killed. He was brutally murdered. He was shot. But he wasn't dead at the scene. So the three people who we needed to identify took him out of the house and dropped him off at the Heart of Florida Haines City Hospital. And then they fled. So we needed to know who they were. We needed to know who the other two who fled were. So when we start this investigation, we have a person that's in exceptionally critical condition and ends up dying from a gunshot wound, but we don't even know where the murder took place. The Haines City Police are there with us, and we can't determine where it is. We thought, well, heck, there's a greater probability that it's in the county, and even if it's in the city, it's still in the county. So we began the investigation. As we're working our way through the investigation, we receive information that our critically injured person has died. But guess how we found the crime scene? The owner of the Airbnb looked on the security cameras and saw this traffic in and out of her house, saw this apparently deceased or very seriously injured person being carried out, and she called us. And that's how we found the crime scene, because the owner of the house in another state looked at the security camera. Our detectives started to work, and they worked throughout Easter weekend. You know, over Easter weekend, the Easter Bunny brings presents. Well, we got a present for Justin Jenkins. We arrested him for murder. That's right, this is what a murderer looks like. Justin Jenkins is 29 years of age. He was also with another person. We need our homicide sleuths, our social media sleuths, to help us identify who was with Justin. We're going to release another clip, another video clip. Find out who this person is, be the one who calls us, gives us a positive ID, and you can get $5,000. Because you see, we want Justin to have company in the county jail. Kind of like Easter eggs in a basket. We got one egg in the basket. We need more eggs in the basket. There's lots of work to do. So Justin, what do we know about him? 35 previous felony charges, 20 previous misdemeanor charges, a total of 55 previous criminal charges, and at least 3 trips to state prison. Justin Jenkins is a bad man. He's a murderer, but he's not alone. We'll let you decide after looking at the video. It appears to be his partner is a Hispanic male. But you make the determination when you call us and say, hey, here's his running buddy. Here's who's with him. Jenkins was located at 2440 South Palmetto in South Daytona Beach in Volusia County. He's from Eustis, Florida. When our detectives called Eustis over the weekend, the holiday weekend, they got a hold of a corporal. The corporal said, oh, we all know the Jenkins. Yeah, we know him real well. He's a bad man. He's a murdering man. So help us finish solving this crime. The investigation is still well underway. We're not going to release any other details of the crime or what we know, and we know more than we're saying today. But what we don't know is who Jenkins' associate was that night. We have the other three identified. They're under investigation. The people who rented the house, they're under investigation. This case is far from over. But what we need is his partner that helped murder someone. That's right. Justin Jenkins and his partner came all the way from South Daytona to Davenport, Florida, to, as they say, hit a lick, to rob at gunpoint a dope dealer, a marijuana dealer, and in the process murdered the guy.
So Mr. Jenkins and the other person you're looking for, they are in a different video than the one with the body being carried out? Those are three different guys?
That's correct.
And the body being carried out, there was a guy on our Facebook page saying that those guys carried the body out. They're not suspects in this, are they?
Oh, yeah, they are.
So the guy on our video, was Tyrone or something like that, Chris Customs, says that they were victims and that this was his best friend, and they brought the body to the hospital and they were just going to the Airbnb. Is that?
Yeah, tell Tyrone his buddies are in trouble. We're letting nobody out of the box. Or, since it's over Easter weekend, we're letting nobody out of the basket. Okay? Everybody's in the basket. We know he shot. We know he brought a partner with him. But others involved in the sale of the cannabis, the renting of the houses, all the other partners involved there, they're all involved too. And by virtue of someone being murdered during the process of committing a felony, they are subject to felony murder charges as well.
Everyone involved.
Everybody that's involved in the Easter basket.
The owner of the home is the only innocent person here.
The owner of the home is certainly innocent. That person is well out of state. Airbnb rented the home. They were selling trafficking amounts of marijuana beginning April 8th. But be sure one thing, the Easter Bunny's still at work. We're going to get the rest of the participants, okay? But we need your help. We've got super sleuths out here. We had our, what I call citizen, community, homicide, social media detectives, help us identify the three. Help us identify where we are now in the investigation. We appreciate your help. Way to go. Now we got one more to identify.
You said Mr. Jenkins came from where to commit this crime?
He is originally from Eustis, Florida. He lives in South Daytona Beach. That's the town, about 5 square mile town. He lived on Palmetto Avenue.
And he was arrested in that area as well?
Yes, and Volusia County helped us, and we served a search warrant with a SWAT team in order to search the residence and take him into custody.
And the victim was renting that property. Was he one of the renters, the victim?
Which victim?
The Xavier Johnson?
That part of the investigation is still underway. He himself did not rent that property,
But he was staying there.
but he was a part of it. The victim was also there, profiting from or being a part of, and it cost him his life. It shouldn't have cost him his life. So that's why when you see me up here extremely animated about people trying to tell you that drugs and marijuana is a low-level, nonviolent crime, well, just gag me with a pitchfork. That is baloney. Because here is an example where our victim, yeah, he was wrapped up in that, but he shouldn't have been murdered. He shouldn't have been killed. But they went there, they didn't care. They went there to hit a lick. They went there to murder people, if that's what it took, to rob at gunpoint. And for whatever reason, that's exactly what they did. And they didn't care. He didn't care that he killed our victim.
How many people total were staying in that house?
Well, there's several. And we don't know that we've got all of the total. We know that at that moment in time, that snapshot, there was as many as 5 to 7 to 8 people that were in and out. We're still sorting through the details. And once again, there's criminal liability and culpability if you're actively involved in committing a felony crime and someone gets killed, and that's what happened.
On the video that were carrying the body out, those people were
We are still investigating that. They are suspects.
Yeah, people are asking in our comment section right now on the stream the connection between Jenkins and those 3 men in the video.
Jenkins and the person he came with, you'll see that video, okay? They came and left together. We are still working on the investigation, so we can't say there's not a connection to the other 3. We just haven't established that at this point in the investigation.
So Jenkins was the gunman, I assume, and what did the other guy do?
Jenkins might have been the gunman, or the other guy might have been the gunman. They both had guns. That's why we have to get the other guy into custody.
And just to be clear, there's a $5,000 reward for the other guy, but what about for the 3 carrying the body out?
Well, we don't know yet, because we've got to unravel that part of the investigation.
And you talked to those 3 you talked to, right? The one guy that's on our Facebook page says he was released and he was fine. He's taking our articles on Chris Customs or whatever. He's like, yeah, I'm fine. If I was a suspect, I would still be in jail or whatever, but you know where those guys are.
He doesn't know what he doesn't know.
Is there a video of the entire incident?
There's videos as they came and went.
But nothing of the incident inside the house?
No, not that we're aware of.
How many times was he shot?
We're not releasing that. But here's the interesting thing. There's some rotten eggs we still have to get. Okay? Help us out. And there may be more that we don't know. But what we do know is that we've got one of the 2 principals, and we're looking for the other principal. And the others are just apparently collateral images or collateral suspects in the other piece of this investigation that's ongoing right now.
So does that mean they were there because they're buying, selling, recording?
Don't know yet. It's under investigation. But if the right people call and the right people talk and the right people tell us, then that'll help us sort it out.
But as the sheriff's office, we see in our report that those other guys are also suspects in some form. That's accurate.
At this time.
Since we're streaming right now, are we able to see the video?
Sure. Are y'all ready to turn it on? Okay, I thought they were going to give it to you after it was over with. All right, let's look at it. Whoop, he steps back. It's the second
These
two.
two right here. That's just
Right.
the pins within the next guy.
The second one with the mask on is who we have not identified yet.
Who's the first person?
Who's in that first picture?
Whoops, see him come out with a gun? So the suspect who went in with a face mask and came out with a gun in his right hand is the one that's not identified. We can show that again, okay?
Sure, who's the first guy?
He is involved in the investigation.
He's one of the
He's
face.
in the first video you
W-
released.
We're not okay, that's the guy we want right there. And about 5 minutes later is when they came back out. There he is. See, he's putting something up. The other one's got his. All right, Super Sleuths, you've seen it. Now tell us who it is, and we'll be one step closer to wrapping up this investigation. This one is very interesting. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Have a good day.